Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Um, Today this is going to be part 2 of my first video about being homeless in LA. So if you haven't seen part 1, go check out part 1, and this is going to be more detail about that experience. So today I'm going to talk about the homeless shelter experience. So I left off some details about that in the first video. So, like I said in the first video, I left work. Um, the temporary agency that I was working with, they actually gave me a list of homeless shelters. I found one. I went to work, and after work, I got off work like at 5 o'clock. And then, so I got on the bus and I took the bus to the homeless shelter. And as I said, on the bus, I sort of noticed some people. It was a crowded bus, but there was some people on there that looked like they could have been homeless. And so when we got off the bus at the stop, I just sort of followed them and we end up at the shelter. And so the women went one way, the men went another. And we were standing in line. We were early. I got off work about 5, so it was probably about 5:15. And there were some young guys who were volunteers, or I don't know if they were working for the shelter or just volunteers, but they really felt like they were sergeants in the army or drill sergeants or something, or that we as the homeless people were beneath them. And so they were acting real, you know, shady and trying to be like a commander or a general. And some of the homeless men were not accepting that. And so they sort of got into it with them. And the guys were like, okay, y'all have to leave. Yeah, we don't open till 6. If y'all stay here, it's loitering, so y'all have to go. And like I said, it was about 5:15, 5:20. So we had to leave and basically just walk around until 6 o'clock. So when 6 o'clock came, I walked back, and I was still sort of early, so it was probably maybe about 20 men in line. So then they let us in. You walk in, and to your left, there was this whole thing of office space where offices were. And then you keep going, and then to the right, around the corner, there was this. It looked like what a lunchroom, like the lunchroom seating with the big tables, and so it was one of those. It was a lot of those, and then beyond those tables were uh, cots, like army cots. And imagine it's like it looks like a big gymnasium. So it was like maybe 100, 120 cots, and behind all the cots, there was this room made of all glass, and in it had tables and chairs, and it had a television set. And to the right of that, and around the corner, it was like a row of maybe 30 sinks with mirrors. And then behind the sinks, there was a row of showers, and there were no door on the showers. There was just the shower curtain. So you go in and you close the curtain. And then on the other side of the wall of that, there was like a row of toilets. And again, I guess because they didn't want the homeless people to be doing drugs or anything crazy, there was no door on the toilets. It was just like a little shower curtain. So you would go and you would do the shower curtain to use the restroom. So that was the setup of the whole uh, homeless shelter, and it was very clean. I was surprised. So when we got in, they told us uh, they gave us a number, I believe, and then told us we had to go pick a cart. So I went and I found a cot that you lay on. It had a little blanket, like an army blanket. It was green blanket, and then there was a pillow. So I found one, and then the other guys were picking theirs. And then, so I sat on my cot and was just wondering, looking around, looking at everybody. And then I heard what shocked me, laughter. And so I looked, and it was like guys high-fiving each other. Hey, man, what's up? How you been? What's going on? Haven't seen you in a long time. And I'm like, because literally I tell you not. Literally, I thought we were gonna walk in and I thought everyone was going to be depressed and downhearted, and we were going to be singing Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. I mean, literally, I thought this was going to be something depressing and horrible. But these people were acting like we were at a five-star hotel in Beverly Hills. And I'm like, I wanted to say, hello, we are homeless people. We are homeless. They're high-fiving, they're clapping each other up and dapping each other, and then they're going into their little room that's made of glass, and they're sitting down, they're watching TV, they're getting card games going, domino games going, and I'm like, really? Really, people? And so the number they gave us was a number that they were going to call us for lunch, for dinner, basically. So dinner came, they call your number, you go to the little lunch tables, and so I went to the table and sat down and then gave them my number, and we were all at the table. I think they call about 50 people at a time because I think it was like 100 guys there, or 150 guys. I don't know. It was a lot of guys in that place. So they brought to the table what I cannot even describe. It was, I know I saw a piece of white bread at the bottom, but they put this gray, nasty, I don't know what it was on top of the white bread, and it was dripping. It was horrible looking. It looked horrible. And I was like, what the hell? And so I guess that look on my face was like, and this was just like in the movies, the look on my face was like, ugh. And so one of the guys that was sitting across from me, he was like, "Are you gonna eat that?" I was like, "No." And so he, I gave it to him, and the guys literally were eating like it was their last meal. They were like just eating, 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 going at it, and I'm just like sitting there like, okay, I can get up now because I'm not gonna eat this. And so I went back to my cot. I can't say that cot, and just sat there and just looked around, and then I started noticing some of the people who may have been mentally ill. You know, they're talking to themselves, they're walking back and forth, and then some people may have been on drugs. You know, they're twitching and just I started noticing those things, and I'm just like, okay. And so I took my bag, because I had one bag, I told you, with all my stuff in it, and I actually put that on the cot as a pillow, and I laid on my bag instead of the pillow because I didn't want anybody to come and try to steal it. Believe you me, I slept with one eye open. I was like, okay, I'm watching y'all. I'm watching y'all because I did not know. Well, I mean, you see people twitching, you see people talking to themselves. I was not having it. So eventually, uh, I made it through that night, you know, and then we had to leave in the morning. They wouldn't let anybody stay, so you had to leave all your stuff. So I left, and I had to take my bag back to work and put it under my desk, and nobody at the job talked about it. So then when I went back to the shelter the next day after work, um, they announced that they were having counselors there in those offices that I passed by. They were going to have counselors there, and so I got up really quick to go and get in line. And what I thought was going to be a line, there was no, out of like 100 something guys, nobody was in line to see the counselor but me. So I'm like, okay. So I was starting to get a whole different impression of homelessness and the state of homelessness, and I'll talk about that in another video. But and so I went into the counselor, and he was like, "Oh, there's nobody else coming. You're the only one." I said, "Looks like it." And so he told me about these things that I had never heard of called transitional houses, where there are homeless people transitioning to get back into society. And so usually they're for people who have a drug and alcohol problem. And so he was like, "You don't have that problem?" I was like, "No, I don't." He said, "Well, we can see if we can get you in one anyway." And so um, I survived that night, went to work, and the guy called me and said, okay, well, we have a transitional house for you. Instead of in where the shelter was downtown LA, but it wasn't in Skid Row. I had not, and if you don't know what Skid Row is, it's like a homeless community here in downtown LA, and where the people are sleeping out on the street in tents and boxes, and there's a lot of shelters in that area. Uh, but this shelter that I picked, thank God, was not by that. It was further east of that, or maybe west of that. And so I did not see Skid Row. I didn't know anything about Skid Row because I only been here for like a week or two. So I didn't see that community. If I would have saw that community, I would have been right back on the Greyhound bus back to Texas. But I didn't see that community. So this transition house was not in LA. It was going to be in Long Beach. So I would have to go to Long Beach and then travel from Long Beach up to LA where I worked. And so that's what I did. He enrolled me into that transition house, and I moved from the homeless shelter after being there for 2 days. And I went to the transitional house, and then the next video I'll go into detail about my experiences with the transitional house. So I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.